What's up, my comic comrades? Magneto is currently playing a central role in the new X-Men 97 series after Professor X left him in control of his school for gifted youngsters and the X-Men, which is a scary proposition considering Magneto's ambitions and also why many members of the X-Men aren't having it. Now, the Master of Magnetism is an Omega-level mutant and has proven that he can bend people and circumstances to his will, but exactly how powerful is he? Well, the only real way to demonstrate just how far Magneto's power set goes is to break down a number of his most impressive and jaw-dropping feats across his many appearances and storylines in comics over the years. So let's begin with Magneto's first appearance in Uncanny X-Men issue 1 in 1963, where we see police officers say, "What gives? The gun won't fire. The trigger seems locked in place. I can't even lift my gun. Feels like it weighs a ton." Then on the next page, Magneto says, "Now I'll merely alter my magnetic waves from positive to negative so they will repel anything that comes within range. Nothing can touch me as I walk to my objective." He straight up stopped guns from firing, drew them toward the ground, and then used magnetic waves as an invisible shield, as well as an invisible lasso of sorts to keep all the military police confined in one spot like cattle, as seen on the third panel. Now this next feat of power is crazy. In Uncanny X-Men 18, Magneto casually lifts the X-Mansion while only using a tiny bit of his power, and it all happens on the second page of the issue. After defeating the X-Men and throwing them into a huge ball carried by a balloon into space, he looks on, cursing their name, saying, "And now I'll destroy every last trace of the X-Men's existence. Nothing can resist my matchless magnetic power. By harnessing only a fraction of the natural magnetism that is mine, I could raise their entire school building only to send it crashing down in ruins." Then on the very next page, he decides not to send the school crashing down and instead decides to keep the school for himself, saying there's supreme irony in using the home for my enemies as my new headquarters. This would be far from the last time Magneto lifted something that impressive with his powers. In Uncanny X-Men 43, he levitates an entire cargo ship. What happens is, aboard the massive ship, there's a giant new computer that Magneto needs, so he just uses his magnetism to levitate the entire ship and bring it to him. It's kind of crazy how effortlessly he does it, and he just continues to display these insane feats. Like in Uncanny X-Men 150, Magneto stops 4 thermonuclear warhead missiles aimed right at him with the wave of his hand, while saying, "I'll simply magnetically freeze the firing circuitry, disarming the warhead, and then modify their trajectory ever so slightly so that they fall harmlessly into the ocean." Then we have the crazy time Magneto raises his massive orbital base from beneath a lake in X-Men vs. Avengers 2 from the 1987 series. Magneto can sense the magnetic field of something huge in the lake, knowing it must be his recently crashed orbital base asteroid M. So he tells himself, "Yes, it is out there. I can feel it. I must reclaim it." Captions then say, "At Magneto's command, awesome electromagnetic forces spring to life, reaching into the depths of the lake, grasping and lifting in defiance of gravity itself," as we see Magneto freaking lift the entire central core of asteroid M out of the lake. He says, "My base is once again mine. Just look at the size of the central core from his base that he lifted out of the lake. That thing is the size of a small island." And he was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna reclaim it." Easy as that. But here's the crazy thing about Magneto. As time goes on, his feats just get crazier and crazier. Do we not remember when he pulled a satellite out of space in Magneto Rex issue 2 and demonstrated not just how powerful he is, but also how ruthless he is? In the issue, we see a satellite in orbit with a caption saying, "High above the Earth, seemingly without cause, without warning, the sky begins to fall." As we see the satellite gets crushed into a ball, like someone's crushing an aluminum soda can, and it starts plummeting back down to Earth. After this, we see Magneto call the United Nations, asking Security Council members, "When will you learn that I am no fool to be trifled with? Have you so soon forgotten the terms of our mutual treaty? Your aircraft invaded our sovereign airspace, and your ships patrol within the limits of international waters. You also dare to presume that it is your given right to turn your spy satellite upon our land. I will tolerate none of these impromptu measures upon my person or my new homeland. Therefore, I have taken appropriate actions so that you may learn from your mistakes and ensure that you honor the sovereignty of Genosha from this time forth. I sincerely hope that in light of today's demonstration, you will proceed cautiously before attempting to incite my wrath again." As we see, Magneto is the one who balled up the satellite from space to rocket it towards one of their satellite planes that were spying on his land, destroying them. Someone then runs into the United Nations room saying, "We've just lost contact with a reconnaissance plane over Genosha and the satellite has fallen off radar. We assume it's now resting at the bottom of the Indian Ocean." Magneto continues to tell the United Nations, "I will allow rescue ships inside a 20-mile radius to search for survivors for the next 24 hours. But know that any deaths suffered are entirely the fault of your own irresponsible acts. I strongly suggest that from this point forward, you honor the terms of our treaty. Failure to do so will result in even more extreme actions on my part, which I assure you, will require more rescue ships than you have at your disposal. So not only was Magneto easily able to use his powers to rip a satellite from space and rocket it straight through a spy plane, but he did all this as an aggressive warning to the United Nations to stay out of his business and make a point that he is not to be trifled with, as he said. Yeah, Magneto is that guy. But that's just another example of the incredible amount of damage and destruction Magneto can cause with his power of magnetism. Hold up, you guys have to see this. We've all made paper airplanes and spent time trying to get them to fly. But let me introduce you to the future of handheld aviation. Today's sponsor, PowerUp, has created the next generation smartphone-controlled paper airplane kits. Their sophisticated onboard computer and auto stabilizers allow you to fly pretty much anything you can imagine and create. You simply attach PowerUp to a folded paper airplane, balsa wood, foam, or cardboard plane, and it flies like magic. Once you pick the body of choice, you instantly put yourself in the cockpit of an amazing smartphone-controlled paper airplane that does high-speed tricks. I'm talking loops, barrel rolls, and hammerheads when you shift into acro mode. PowerUp makes it easy to fly for kids and adults, even in windy conditions, and that's all thanks to the onboard flight computer, sensors, gyro, and accelerometer. I have no idea what makes it all work, but it's freaking awesome. Also, I'm not the best pilot, so thankfully PowerUp's durable crash-proof design is built to sustain endless crashes. It even has on-screen flight telemetry and gamified scoring for your flight performance. There are also optional expansion packs for night flight, landing gear, model kits, and more. You can grab yours today at poweruptoys.com/variant, and by using our link, you'll automatically get 20% off your entire order. Just click the link in the description to get yours today, and we'll meet you in the sky. Okay, the next puzzle piece to determine the extent of Magneto's power comes in Magneto Dark Seduction, issue 3. In the issue, Magneto is battling the Avengers in a somewhat weakened state, mind you. And as the comic says, Magneto reaches out to Polaris through his energy link, grasping the electromagnetic field like the corners of a bedsheet, yanking them off of her, and in one maddening surge of power, Magneto tears down the cliffside city of Carrion Cove. The power unleashed by Magneto's terrifying maneuver cascades everywhere. The electromagnetic bedsheet is spread out and floating in the air. So this dude straight up dropped an entire city on the Avengers. Now, he did do this with a power boost from Polaris via an energy link, but nonetheless, he was able to drop a city on the Avengers. If you read X-Men or Magneto comics at all, you know these feats aren't really that shocking because he does stuff like this so consistently, it's normal for him. To show another example of this, let's look at Magneto from AVX Versus issue 1. In the issue, we have Magneto going up against Iron Man, and as the two of them are fighting, Magneto says, "This one is arrogant and even reckless, even for a human. But in my experience, he is no fool. Surely he would not dare attack me of all mutants in a simple suit of iron. If he has, this will be a very short battle indeed. My power courses through his armor, and I have my answer. He isn't wearing metal. It's carbon nanotubes." So since Magneto can't easily defeat Iron Man by simply manipulating his armor, he says to Iron Man, "So your armor isn't metal? Oh dear, how shall I possibly defend myself?" As he rips a massive tower from the ground, levitating it in the air, and then dropping it on Iron Man. The fight doesn't stop there, but the whole point of bringing it up is the fact that Magneto was able to rip a tower from the ground, levitate it, and drop it on Iron Man. But this stuff is super easy for Magneto, as in Uncanny X-Men 542, Magneto transports a decommissioned US Navy vessel from San Diego, using it as a projectile or obstacle. Yet another example of feat and power is from Sword issue 1, when Magneto casually moves a 1,000-ton space station, which is the headquarters of Sword. But here's the thing, it doesn't stop with his magnetism. Magneto is also extremely fast. In Journey into Mystery 109, we see Magneto able to dodge Mjolnir, which is crazy. But even more impressive than that is from Uncanny X-Men 150. In the issue, Magneto is fast asleep, at which point Storm comes sneaking in. She sees a knife near his bed and picks it up, saying, "I know how. I've done it before. Once, as a child, to save my life. I did it then. Why not now? I swore an oath never to kill again, but Magneto is prepared to slay the entire world." She thinks about it, but ultimately says, "I cannot." But at that very second, Magneto wakes up saying, "Someone is in my room. It's Storm standing beside my bed, holding a knife." The caption says he reacts with the speed of thought, creating a wall of magnetic force that hurls Storm across the room and out the window, a quarter mile above the ground. But as the comic says, he reacted with the speed of thought, which is crazy. And then in X-Men vs. Avengers issue 4 from 1987, he shows he's faster than bullets, being able to stop them in midair. Now, as far as durability goes, Magneto is also incredibly durable. So durable, in fact, he survived attacks from the entire X-Men team on multiple occasions. He's even defeated the X-Men all by himself several different times. One of the best examples of his durability is standing up to the X-Men in Uncanny X-Men 113. He was full on taking hits and punches from the entire X-Men team, including Colossus, Nightcrawler, Beast, slashes from Wolverine, Cyclops, and even a blast from, get this, a Phoenix-imbued Jean Grey. The only thing that happened to him was his cape was torn up. It's kind of nuts. Then in the 2020 Guardians of the Galaxy series, issue 15 to be exact, we see Magneto take a full punch to the face from the human rocket Nova. Nova says, "All right, let me tell you about the Nova Force, Magneto. It comes in a whole lot of different flavors, including electromagnetic energy. That means anything you could do, whether it's a big ball of scrap or a magnetic force field, I can cancel out." Like this, as he rockets towards Magneto, punching him straight in the face. Magneto then just gets up saying, "You want to fight the master of magnetism with magnetism? You're a fool, boy. And you've placed yourself on my ground." It's just crazy. Magneto took a punch from the human rocket like it was nothing. Now, with all that said, I think it should be easy to understand why Magneto is so powerful. He's an Omega level mutant. For those of you who don't know, the definition of Omega level mutant is a mutant whose dominant power is deemed to register or reach an undefinable upper limit of that specific classification. But don't worry, not only does Marvel give us that official definition of an Omega level mutant from House of X issue 1, they also give us an example that uses Magneto. It states, for example, both Magneto and Forge are the most powerful mutants of their power types on the planet Earth, magnetism and technopathy respectively. But what makes Magneto and not Forge an Omega level mutant is that the upper limits of Forge's measurable powers could hypothetically be surpassed, and in fact has by multiple humans on the planet, while the upper limit of Magneto's power cannot be surpassed in any measurable fashion. So that right there encompasses just how powerful Magneto is, and it comes directly from Marvel and Jonathan Hickman. Yet again stating the upper limit of Magneto's power cannot be surpassed in any measurable fashion. In other words, no one could surpass Magneto's power when it comes to magnetism. He is the Omega level mutant of magnetism, and his power in that capacity has no ceiling. Really, being an Omega level mutant in any power automatically makes you one of the most powerful beings on the planet, because just to emphasize this, having the designation of Omega level mutant means you can manipulate your particular power set in ways that aren't even measurable, which is exactly what we saw in many of the examples given today, where Magneto was doing crazy stuff with his manipulation of magnetism. But that's our case for the depth of Magneto's power set. So what's your take? What examples of Magneto's strength and powers stand out to you the most? Let us know in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you next time when we talk some Ghostbusters.